I'm a list maker. I send myself emails at night about what I would like to accomplish the next day, and that's worked well for me. The first thing I open in the morning is my own email, and I have my tasks for the day. Find mentors, and it doesn't have to be a formal mentoring relationship, but seek out people who you admire, who you would like to work with, who can help you in all aspects of your life. Some that may help with scholarship, some that will help with service, some that will help with personal. And don't think that you can't have many, many mentors. People are happy to do that.
One piece of advice that I strongly endorse is to reach out. Don't isolate yourself. It can be, as I said, a very isolating profession and journey, but there are always other people along the path with you. You might not be seeing them or reaching out to them, but the worst thing you can do is to think that you're by yourself or all alone.
And this is something I learned more slowly, but it's something you can learn pretty early on, is to be more effective and efficient about the things you can routinize, like the production of a syllabus. And once you're done it once, it's not that you don't change it, but you have a format that's fairly easily adapted to changes. And so there are things you can deal with pretty efficiently, setting time aside to do emails, and make sure you have chunks of time you can work on your scholarly work. And I was careful about that. Go hide in the library, go hide at home and do that work.
About every 5 years, I take all my course materials, if I'm teaching a course, and the books and the syllabi and everything online, and I throw it all away. Literally, I throw it all away every 5 years and start over again. I remember a lot of what has worked well and what's important, but I found that it's very helpful for keeping me alive and fresh and focused and making the course more interesting if I have to start from scratch periodically. It's too easy to just continue on doing what you've been doing year after year after year.
You're taking risks and trying stuff on, you're going to fail. So, and if you're not, then it's sort of the skiing metaphor. If you're not falling down, you're not skiing hard enough. If we're not failing, we're not trying enough new things out. But it's, fail quick, learn, all that. All the metaphors of creativity and innovation, they apply to, I think, our careers as well. If you're gonna fail on small stuff that doesn't have a huge impact, because you'll learn from that, fix that. So when there is a bigger project or something that might span campus or a new program, then you've learned where the big stumbling blocks are.
Also, find ways to stay healthy. There's a lot on your plate when you're working, teaching, student demands, family demands. Absolutely imperative that you yourself stay healthy. If that means physical exercise, good diet, make sure you get enough rest. I hate seeing emails that come in at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning from colleagues, because that's not an indication of health. And sometimes you feel like you should be up all night, but it's not effective. Set aside time that you're not working all the time. It's very, very compelling for some faculty to work all weekend. Set aside some time where you're not available on email. Let your students know that. Let your colleagues know that. Good to make those boundaries, not just for others, but for yourself as well. And so health is good. Find a creative outlet. It's helped me over the years to have some way to create, and you can do that through scholarship, but if it's something that you're not even good at. I made porcelain dolls for a while.
One of our faculty members retired now. Barbara Parker gave me some advice for introverts to go to a conference and you have to meet 2 people. And then if you meet, or a party, whatever it is, like meet your 2 people and then you're done. You can go stand in the corner all you want then and not feel guilty. Which was really it was tongue-in-cheek party advice, but it was great conference advice too.
A second strong piece of advice I would give to those just starting out is to pay attention to the politics, but ultimately don't let the politics get to you. Find some way to let that roll off your back. And having just come from a faculty meeting where there were lots of politics going on, micropolitics, I think I've finally reached a point after 20-some odd years of allowing that to roll off my back a little bit more. It's easy to say, not so easy to do. But I do think it's important to be kind of grounded and centered and know what you stand for, but at the same time understand the sort of political environment that you're operating in at all times.
The other thing I think is important, particularly for mid-level faculty or people who are tenured, is that you not only have to guard your own soul, but you also have to guard the university and the values that are most important to it. Because it's easy enough for any of us, be we administrators or faculty, to lose sight of the fundamental values of justice within the university, time for reflection, and that's not a luxury, it's a necessity. If you don't have time for reflection, if you don't have time of conversation, it's not really a university anymore. So those things that don't necessarily show up in the annual professional review are really important to support and urge, and for your own sake and for the sake of others. Making a point, even perversely, of just not doing bureaucratic work, taking some time off from it and go and talk to a colleague, which enriches both, hopefully, him or her as well as yourself. It's just sort of stepping back into a little sanity.
There's one quote I really like these days that is the greatest gift you can give others is to become less of a problem through understanding yourself. And I think myself and others at the university, as our self-understanding and self-awareness grows, we can learn to take care of and manage ourselves so that we're less able to be a disruption to the functioning of others and be able to contribute more. So I guess that's one thing I would suggest, is for people to develop heightened self-awareness and appreciation of understanding of who they are and how they can best contribute to a portion of the university mission that resonates with them.
I would encourage people to find service projects, service activities on campus that they like and are interested in, because some of the service activities are not very engaging or enthralling, but you have to do them. That's part of the work. So of all that suite of service activities, find a couple in there that are interesting and challenging and have you meet people on or off campus that you wouldn't normally run into in your everyday circles. So, and part of that is reaching out across campus and do campus or university level service where you meet people that are outside of your school or your department.
And then the final piece of advice is just to beware of advice. There'll be a lot of well-meaning people who want you to do things the way they did it. And so even advice from me, I think, is sort of suspect. And that's probably what I would counsel someone coming up through the ranks.
Been very fortunate in that I've been able to follow interest and, I guess, values and a vision I've had since I was in my 20s throughout my life, and that's had to do with understanding interpersonal relations and more recently forgiveness, and to spend my time around that. I think about 90% of what I've written, presented, has been stuff that's been close to my heart, and I think that's really, I'm very lucky in that respect, and I've been spending time with people whose interests overlap with mine. And so again, I think I've been very fortunate. I suppose it also tells me that I have a pretty good intuitive sense of where to go and where not to go. In a sense, I spend most of my working career in settings which are at least largely friendly to the intentions and interests that I have. And as a result of that, I feel, I guess, much better rounded. And I look back and I don't have a sense of, I certainly have things that I regrets about, but not my career, not the main emphasis of what I've done with my life.
At the very end of the day, what seems most meaningful to me about this journey is my capacity to help others, whether it's my students, to help them learn. I think that's almost a very spiritual kind of place to be in, but also to help junior scholars and even some of my peers, maybe even people who are older. than me, but you're part of a community, right?
I mean, I think teaching is about helping students recognize their place in the world and what they can make of the gifts that they have, right? And that we, in the sciences, see a lot of students that have decided on pre-med for any number of reasons, that many of which are not the most awesome. And so helping them find something meaningful for them, I think, is important. I feel like I don't feel bad about leaving it. I love teaching. I feel like I've left my mark. I'm not really concerned that I will miss it. Yeah.
The only other thing I found, when I'm happiest and most productive, I'm most full of gratitude for the present moment and just appreciate the opportunities that I've been given. And I'm not sure if the gratitude and appreciation comes first and then the happiness follows, or if it's the happiness that comes first and then the appreciation and gratitude grow from that. But they seem to be highly positively correlated.
It's amazing to think about universities. I think of this as being a very special, privileged space that we're in. It's not the market, it's not the state, it's not even really civil society in some ways. And the history of universities goes back hundreds of years. And so to be part of an ongoing enterprise, whether it's here at Seattle U or other colleges and universities that sort of have the mission of making sure that knowledge gets preserved and transmitted. The sort of great library of Alexandria doesn't burn down again, right? And that we're all part of this endeavor.
And that's very important to me, to have a meaningful work life, to be contributing in a very meaningful way. And if I were to add up the number of students who have graduated and are now successful professionals, it would be astounding. And that makes everything that I've done worthwhile. And the students who struggled, who would not have been nurses had I not, in a sense, rescued them, either because they failed a course, maybe people weren't seeing their potential, they didn't see their own potential, that's very gratifying. And that's what it's all about. It's helping everyone, whether it's students, faculty, colleagues, family, reach their potential.